Hi, Don here. Welcome to another edition of the Generative Age. We're here at the Zurich Summit today. It is buzzing, thousands of people. If I'm screaming at you, it's because it's actually so loud in the room. I'm here with my co-host Vyas.
Woohoo! Everyone, this is Vyas again. Excited to be back.
And we're so excited to have Szymon with us from PMI, Philip Morris International. Szymon, thank you for your time and for being with us today. Do you mind just introducing yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do.
Thanks for having me here. It's an amazing opportunity for us to exchange and for me to say a few words about the PMI journey we're on. So, Szymon Myslinski, I'm leading enterprise architecture, technology transformation, AI at Philip Morris. Quite a mouthful.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a portfolio.
However, that's how it works currently. Those technology transformations are kind of a multi-dimensional. And this is just my role name. If I think about what I do at PMI, actually, I'd rather think about this as we're defining the future of tech, process, data, architecture landscapes.
Yeah.
In a Fortune 100 company, we're basically building a reference model for the industry. That's how we think about our jobs.
Wow. Sounds like a stress-free day-to-day job.
Absolutely, we're totally chill.
A dream job we all would love to have.
Right.
So, about PMI,
Yeah.
can you talk a bit? I love your ambition, which I saw on your website, but would love to know more about it. What does smoke-free mean? I'd like to get some insights around that.
Yes, so PMI has been on an amazing journey. So initially known from its iconic tobacco brands, at some point the company decided to completely reinvent itself and take itself out of the tobacco industry into a consumer goods industry and other industries. The smoke-free world is a super ambitious business strategy to move out into by 2030 to generate 2/3 of our revenue from smoke-free products, pharma, wellness, life science, other sources. And we're well underway, we're tracking well.
I've seen those numbers, yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's over 40%. Q1 of this year is already generated from other sources.
Yeah. How is AI for you playing into achieving that strategy ultimately?
So the company is evolving big time. We're changing the way we operate on the markets, we're changing our consumer base, we're changing the industry, we're changing the channels that we operate in. So we're basically doing a 180-degree turn. And also there's a very strong realization that technology in terms of digital, AI data is a foundational enabler for driving this transformation. And it is actually an integral part of the business transformation as a way to kind of show the importance of technology. Technology is reporting directly into our CEO. Technology digital is reporting directly and has a seat by the table in terms of growing the business and transforming the business.
What we would like to understand is that what's your journey? Because when we think about generative AI and essentially AI in general, always starts off with a lot of pilots. We have seen a lot of reports saying some of these pilots fail. And a lot of people are even worried in terms of how do they take this journey. And you have been in a wonderful journey already. I think a lot of our viewers would love to understand what's that been and so how they can probably mimic what you're doing.
Sure. It's quite a packed question. There are quite a few things.
I've seen this beautiful slide that you have, which has these 3 horizons, I think you've called them, right?
Yeah, I think that's the way we look at this. Look, the realization from this journey last 2.5 years is there's no single operating model or a way to approach it that would be a good fit for every single maturity phase, right? So mid of 2023, when ChatGPT was released, everyone knew something's coming. Sure. Even though many companies were heavily investing in machine learning, it was obvious that there's new capability, new modality of AI that looks like is about to change many things in the way that we operate as in our private lives, but also how we work and how companies actually run. no one knew how this is evolving, right? And we did not want to just leave it as it is. Our organization is very ambitious in looking for opportunities. So we've decided that we don't know how actually we should move forward. So we'll experiment to learn. And the first stage was basically investing a lot into enabling experimentation. And it was both upskilling our employees, upskilling ourselves, but also opening very broadly for bottom-up innovation. But that reached a certain phase, right? We were super successful in this bottom-up innovation. We generated 450 initiatives, most of them in experimentation phases, de-risked, distributed across the organization. But at some point we realized, hey, we have those 450 cases, so what really, right? We learned a lot. We explored where the actual value across the organization is, but we don't see the benefits at scale. And that was a point where we actually shifted. We understood that is not sustainable. And we focused on value realization. And that's where we basically grouped those use cases, those specific projects, because it's not 450 different ideas.
It's true.
It's like 8, 10 big capabilities, big AI capabilities that are deployed to support different use cases. That was the realization. So on the delivery side, we streamlined this into a centralized capabilities on our cloud platform, but also from ownership point of view, from value tracking point of view. We shifted the messaging and the storyline completely, with the focus on value realization, value tracking, and strong support top-down on those well-selected use cases.
And when you talk about value, like how are you measuring, what is value to you? Do you have like a framework or a measurable before you start building or prioritizing anything in those capabilities? How do you know what you're trying to measure in terms of value?
So value can be many things, and for us it's many things as well. And I think it's also connected to the fact that we're relatively early in terms of understanding the total impact of this opportunity. So value in terms of dollar value is definitely there. In our functions, we identified 2-3 big end-to-end processes per function where we are driving significant process reimagining, and we have a very concrete expectations in terms of value realized through that AI-driven reimagining. But value are other things as well. So for example, many organizations were disputing what's the ROI for conversational chatbots like Copilot type of a tool being deployed to large employee communities, right? We deployed Copilot very early. We're one of the first adopters. We invested a lot into upskilling people so we could benefit from high adoption. But at some point we realized the benefit of those tools is not in 2, 3, 4 hours on average saved by an employee, because we can't realize that benefit anyway. It does not show in our P&L, right? So we now treat this as just a cost. We treat this as infrastructure. You join the company, you get a laptop, you get a phone, you get internet access, and you get Copilot. It's a tool, right? Why we see this investment is interesting is that because we invest there, people use it, they skill up, and then they can actually identify as becoming experts in deploying AI and thinking in this AI-based way.
It's like a catalyst.
It's a lot of bottom-up innovation, but there's also deployment of certain well-defined optimization.
It's interesting, and I love the way you framed it, saying that you started off with use cases and converged that to just about 8 to 10 capabilities. I want to kind of unbind that a little, and what does that capability mean? Can you actually help us understand that? Because it's a very interesting platform mindset, and we would love to understand what that looks like.
Sure. So look, when we started with use cases, So basically, we scaled, we allowed that, enabled that bottom-up innovation in a distributed manner, but keeping the central governance over those cases for a very specific reason. We wanted to learn, we wanted to have a complete overview of what people, when they are allowed to experiment and enabled to experiment, what is coming out of this experimentation, and have an overview of those cases. Then, having that overview, I mentioned already, we kind of clustered those cases into topics, right? And those can be the usual suspects: narrative generation or content generation, virtual personas, but this can also be something like automated policy evaluation. So you're kind of a legal or compliance first evaluation of any content, right? So then we landed on those specific AI capabilities that are built on our central cloud platform. We can deploy them much faster. We can deploy them much cheaper. So we estimate that 70-80% of the effort is already reduced by having those capabilities. We need this 20-30% for deploying for specific use case. We can do that also 40% faster than if we build it from scratch. We get additional benefits like increased security. We run it cheaper and easier. We can basically keep the environment. We can update the environment as the technology progresses. But this is not the end of the story of this thing. So those capabilities are used for something. We're not building AI just to build AI. It's irrelevant, really. What is relevant is the value we can realize, and value that we realize is in processes. Those capabilities are used in our CEO mandated program to reimagine our end-to-end processes across the company. And that's a logical kind of a sequence of events that needs to happen.
This is fascinating. If I just take a step back, you did about 400 use cases, figured out at the end of it there are so many things which are thought through in each of those use cases, converted them as capabilities, essentially creating your own platform, which you initially centralized, and now with that capabilities in a central structure, you have now decentralized the governance so that others can go and build new applications or new value pretty quickly, but then you still allow to build those capabilities through a central platform. Is that a fair statement to make, Szymon?
Yeah, that's a fair summary.
Okay.
And I think, frankly, also the focus shifted a bit. I don't want to say we solved the technology problem, the technology piece of the puzzle, but I think for the current maturity of where we are, technology is not a challenge for us. I think technology is a tick for us already.
Yeah.
I think we're now focusing on how to deploy, what to deploy for. I think that's the most important element. And also, do we have the capabilities in terms of the skills of people and the capacity for the entire organization to transform, because it's very disruptive. It's not a technology problem anymore. It's a process problem and it's a people problem.
Yeah.
And that is something which we're seeing in general everywhere, right? So now I would be curious to understand, perhaps if you have already done an end-to-end process or a function transformation, now using these capabilities, if you can give an idea and perhaps make us understand, like how does it look in real life? And probably that would be helpful for us to visualize what you just said, Szymon.
In terms of the real kind of a use case.
Use case.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I think the capability you've explained is beautiful. Now we want to see pushing an end-to-end case through that framework, that capability.
Sure.
Are you rendering real value? Are you measuring that value?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So look, first of all, I think all companies have the same tech. No one is really training models unless it's a very specific application. So everyone has the same technology. So the value is actually how do we deploy it. So we're not very enthusiastic to share those cases very openly. But I'll give you a taste of it, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned a capability that is validating any sort of input, any content, versus any set of guidelines, principles. And this proved to be super impactful in, for example, our in our rollout to market. So we are rolling out massive number of products to new markets. And the process of rolling out requires us to consider market-specific, local-specific, legal regulations, compliance regulations, and everything we learned about the market from a marketing point of view, how to build campaigns. And this process of iterating this content from marketing teams to compliance, to legal, to marketing, doing rounds and rounds, took months. We figured out, hey, all of it until the last fine-tuning can be basically automated. We have the rules, we have the knowledge, we can automate most of it. And we did it actually. So we took the rollouts of products into a market from something that took 3-4 months into days. The initial preparation is done absolutely automatically. We build it into a workflow engine that helps the teams to coordinate that work. There's a full support from AI in terms of getting the right regulations for a market, but also suggesting how, if something is not compliant, how to change the content so it becomes compliant, and also include the best practices that we know that worked for other campaigns, and then we release it much faster. So our time to market is became this process is much more efficient. On top of this, additional benefit is compliance people, lawyers, and good marketeers are resources in demand and are very expensive resources that everyone wants to access, right?
Yeah.
So our involvement of those resources in the process reduced dramatically, so other teams, other markets can use them for other rollouts.
Just stepping into future, what does this mean to you and PMI, and where this is heading for you?
I would like to know as well. Look,
I thought you have a crystal ball.
yeah, that would be amazing. There are also very interesting things from a vendor perspective, and that are changing. The role of the classical understanding of ERP systems, SaaS platforms, maybe is somehow I don't know if it's decreasing. It's changing, right?
Yeah.
We're looking more at topics like data, but how we access data. What's our possibility to access our data on platforms we contract? This is where vendors will like to generate additional revenue from those streams on unlocking companies on their platforms with their data, right? So that's one consideration. Process orchestration is an additional consideration for us. So big kind of architecture technology shifts that we're considering, and we just push for the value, right? We don't care about number of use cases anymore. We want to see the benefits. We want to see our employees feel better, work better, are more productive. We want to see savings. We want to see revenue.
Yeah.
That's the plan for the near future.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are doing incredible things. I'm just inspired talking to you. But I know just before we kicked off, you said there was a message you would leave to the audience as well, because the journey hasn't been linear, right? You didn't design something and you've followed it step by step. You've had to pivot sort of along the way. Would you want to just talk us through looking back now on where you've been and where you've come from and where you're going? What are some of the learnings? What sort of messaging would you leave for the listeners?
Sure. So just looking at reflecting on our journey so far, and we're not there yet for sure, right? We're also on the journey.
Sure.
And I think it's rather the beginning. Maybe two realizations. One is scaling AI is not a goal in itself, right? Gen AI is a tool. It's a tool in a tool set. It's an amazing tool, by the way. It enables us to do many more things that we were unable to do before with machine learning. But it's a tool. We're not scaling AI just to have a fantastic AI scaling program. We're scaling it for a reason. So from my point of view, technology in this story, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's not the focus it's not the reason why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in some organizations, that they sometimes get stuck in their experimentation phase because they are experimenting, not experimenting for something else.
Yeah.
That's one. The other realization is we have to pivot often. So I believe that our current approach is a bold approach and it's a modern approach, but I think it will not be the right approach in 12, maybe 6 months from now. I think we'll have to pivot again, because once we get more mature, once the understanding of this opportunity evolves, unveils, and our employees, our workforce can apply it better, we can focus on other things. It's not just value realization from productivities or from additional ways to boost our revenue generation processes or streams. Maybe we'll look at how do we innovate our business models, right? The next stage of thinking. So it's not like improving our current business, maybe it's reinventing our future business.
Yeah.
And we'll have to make those mental shifts, those pivots quite often on the journey, I guess.
I love that. So the summary is, Gen AI or AI is a tool, always work backwards from value, and it's a long journey. Pivot as often as possible to reach your destination. I think with that, what a great way to summarize this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Szymon, for making
Thank you.
time.
Amazing way.
Amazing, and we look forward to partner with you in your journey and continued success on that. And again, kudos to the social responsibility which you have actually taken up as a company, and we are behind you on that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. Amazing conversation. We're super excited about our journey, and great to talk to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Szymon. Appreciate
And for
it.
the audience, thank you for listening in. Yet another edition of Generative Edge. I hope you enjoyed it. See you again.